Good morning, everybody. GMGM. Welcome to Takeoff Tuesday. Glad you're all here. Let's get this party started. Excellent. Welcome to July. Here we are, July 1st. Fresh new month. Freedom Month. Happy 4th of July week. Remember what we are celebrating for, what we're celebrating about, and why it matters. And it's not just fireworks and a little bit of freedom, but it's also the work and sacrifice required to have and maintain freedom. I think there's a phrase out there that says freedom isn't free. Um, Speaking of liberty, Benjamin Franklin said, those who give up their freedom for safety deserve neither. So, if your choices are safe or free, you better pick free. It's not so safe every time. Anyway, grateful for being here, grateful for what we're working on. A lot of great stuff's happening at the corporate level, getting ready for our E3 summit. I know along the way, a lot of local teams are doing great with their house tours. I know Scott Buckholtz and Umair are doing a fantastic job. So we got one coming up this Saturday. So let's actually head over to the calendar real quick before we get into our training and just double, triple check. Also, there is a new Renatus review up for Randy Pertler. Go and check him out. He's done 100 deals plus. He's been doing this for a very long time. And it's great to hear what experts and seasoned investors like him have to say about Renatus and why they joined. So check that out and send that to somebody you know that needs to see it. In addition to that update, there's also a brand new video right up here, this E3 Summit video. They got the updated version right here. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but yeah, they do a great job.
Next, to show you how that happened.
So you can use this video, share it with people. Where you can find it so that people can register under you is you will go into your calendar of events, go over here to the left, click on calendar. Now remember, every time when it loads, it's going to load by default with the state you put in your profile. So the state filter will be up first. You need to clear the filter. Now everything's on the calendar. Okay. And like I said, we got a property tour with Scott Buckholtz every Saturday. So take advantage of that. But what I want you to pay attention to is going over to October's calendar. And in October's calendar, you're going to scroll down to the event. There's two events here. We have the general admission tickets and the VIP tickets. Okay, so if we go into general admission, and then on the top here is that share button. This is the best way, the cleanest way, the neatest way to sell tickets to your customers for this event. It's going to be this link here. So you'll click on share, you click on copy URL, and then paste that. Now, sometimes if you want to see it, but your browser automatically logs you into your Helios, you might need to open it in a private window to paste it. But then when you send out that link that I just showed you to copy, this is what your customer will see. They'll see your name up here. They'll see the cool video, register now button, and then it'll go through benefits and when and where. The early bird registration is on now. September 24th is when it expires, and it will go up to $247. So they'll increase it. Price goes up 25%. So get your ticket now. Get your ticket now. See the process, how the emails look, how the whole registration process looks, so you can walk your people through it. It's only $200, folks. That's half the price of what you paid for the last one, and it's going to be a better event. So very exciting. Get your tickets now. Let's start filling the room. I know we got a friendly competition against the Chicago team, so we need to sell all the tickets. Just saying. I know, iron sharpens iron. So anyway, there's going to be Bob Snyder, Chris Alvin, Jay Stark, Matt Snyder, Randall Cloud, Woody Woodward, Garrett Gunderson, Richard Stock, Brian Sump, Michael Huggins, Scott Rowe, Mitch Nelson, Whitney Stark, Jason Andrews, Bob Tierney, Jeff Armstrong, Nancy Rowe, Eric Counts, Bill Predebon, Umair Hawk, Troy Dodd, Patrick Munson, and Dan Cragen. We're 114 days away. Now, one thing I was just thinking about doing was my link. You guys ever use Bitly? Bit.ly? As you go around and you want to share this link, the link in your dashboard is it'll look like this. Go event.me/ and then whatever. So if you wanted to make it something a little more custom, what the heck? Oh, I'm signed in on my other browser. Will it remember me? Anyway, when you go to make all your posts about it, you can make a custom link that is a little more maybe descriptive or custom to you. Let's see if this works. Oh, that's funny. Anyway,
down the call. I'm not sure if it's already been stated. So that link is tied to the ICM in the back office.
correct. Yes. So when you share your link, it'll have your name up here with your profile picture. So another reason to make sure you have a nice profile picture too is it shows up. Okay. Now, one detail about this is that if a guest is protected to somebody else, your link can still be used. It's going to allow, they changed the setting to allow everybody to go through. So you'll need to well, one, you need to protect your guests, but also what's the easiest way to say this? Because what they wanted to do was make sure that nobody got rejected through any link. So for example, in the video that plays, let me mute this real quick. In the video, while it's playing, they have run right here. Okay, so renatus.me/E3 Summit. If you go to that, it's going to say Bob Snyder invites you. Okay. And which is fine because we want everybody to be able to get a ticket. If your guest went through Bob Snyder's link and bought a ticket, set it through you, they'll still be able to buy a ticket. They'll be coded to Bob, so you'll need to email corporate, hey, my guest bought through Bob's link. Can you please send that person over to me? But other than that, yeah, you're all going to have your own personalized link and in-person perks. So we will be broadcasting it. Hi.
Good morning. Okay, so if we have our own link, so why would we? I was late, so I didn't know what you were saying earlier. So if we have our own link, why can't we use our own link?
You can.
Oh, okay. So, okay, that's if you use this, you're saying. So, Okay,
I'm just
so
saying that if you don't have a protected guest, anybody's link can sign them up. So just be aware that actually I think what
oh,
they said is even if there's guest protection on this link, they'll still be able to sign up for the event, but then when they go to buy their education, it'll be directed back to whichever ICM has the protection.
I see. Okay.
So they're
So
not.
instead, let's say if I give my own link and then that person is protected to you, and then so instead of using my link, it would go to Bob's link, Bob Snyder's. Am I
If
under?
a guest that's protected to me finds your link and uses it, they
Mm-hmm.
will still be able to buy a ticket
Under my link?
under your link, but they'll still be
Mm-hmm.
protected to me in the system.
Right. Okay. So when that
Does that make
person
sense?
buys, it would still go to you.
Right. When they go to buy their
Okay.
education, the system will still know to give it to me, even
Mm-hmm. Okay.
though they may have bought the E3 ticket through your link.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
So if you don't understand that, anybody else listening, if you don't
Yeah.
understand that, let me know and I can clarify. But I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Does that
Okay.
make
Yeah,
sense?
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think it threw me off with the Bob and contact headquarters. I didn't know why that would be, but that's why I think it was thrown off.
Yeah, maybe I didn't say it clearly at first, but essentially the thought process behind that is making sure that the ticket sale goes through instead of a customer finding a link and then not being able to use it. So every link can register every guest, even if they're protected. It doesn't change the protection. It's just allowing them to use whatever link to get into the event. So as we're going through this, pay attention, take notes if something needs to change along the way or whatever, right? It's, editable, but that's what they've come up with so far for making sure to get the least amount of rejections when people find the links to this event. Cool. Okay. All right. Quote of the day: words can inspire, thoughts can provoke, but only action truly brings you closer to your dreams. Words can inspire, thoughts can provoke, but only action truly brings you closer to your dreams. Action, action, and more action. In fact, some might argue that inaction is a doing of the inaction, so it's still an action. Every action adds up. All right, congrats to Richard, Marion Setta, Dennis, Cade, Tracy, Scott, new guy Scott, welcome Scott, Jennifer, Aaron, Becky, and Jerry. Top 10 new for the week. Well done. Around the country. Great mix of people, backgrounds, marketing strategies and styles for getting clients. There's more than one way to make this thing happen, and there's the proof right there in your top 10. All different kinds of methods for making their sales and finding people and building for events and following up. So congrats to all of you. And let's get into it. Okay, so welcome, folks. Takeoff Tuesday. If this is your first time being on Takeoff Tuesday, you're in for a treat. This is something that we've had going on as a tradition for nearly 7 years now. The reason I bring that up is because the people that you get to hear from on this call when you join us every morning are committed people, meaning they do it regardless of their feelings. They do it regardless of its convenience. They are here to help, serve, educate, inspire, get people pointed in the right direction, help them see their weaknesses and what to do about it. It's a commitment. And so often will say things like, you'll quit on you before we do. And one thing I've seen with Bill is his ability to push through distractions, obstacles, challenges, and turn it into something very beneficial for everyone involved. People who've done deals with him make money. And he's got an incredible amount of experience from all kinds of real estate. So throughout the call, please drop your questions in the chat, raise your hand, or you can come off a mute. And let's talk about it. If it's basic, if it's complex, it doesn't matter. Bill is well versed in short sales, foreclosures, fix and flips, new builds, buy and hold short term, buy and hold long term, new construction, land development, raising capital, seller finance notes, tax and legal. Even though he's not an attorney or a CPA, he can hang with the best of them. So as you're sculpting your future life, Bill and I and Dane and the people on this call are a resource for you to help you dial in and get better at what you're working on, reduce your risks, and make it big. So we're very honored to have Bill here. He is living a life by design. So he's spending the summer in the Upper Peninsula, making waves, literally and figuratively, networking along the way. There's just something about when you have a mission, people flock to you. And he shared an interesting story last week about people coming to him. I'm interested to hear more stories this week as he continues to expand his business, his empire, and his knowledge. We're grateful to have him here today with us. So let's give a big warm welcome, Mr. Bill Predebon, GM. How are you doing? Great to see you.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, buddy. How's the lake life treating you?
It's been beautiful weather. We launched the boat, went out both Saturday and Sunday. It was awesome. And yep, lake life. It's the dogs love the weather up here. It's been really good weather. We got here a couple weeks earlier than most time. So it's been nice to be here in June. It's been hot in Phoenix, so I don't miss it.
I heard it's retardedly hot and people's brains are not working like they should.
Yeah, it's really becoming, they have, I think I was telling you this, over 10 multi-billion dollar projects going on right now. And in fact, there's 25 projects going on in Phoenix right now under construction already that are like over 500 million. Yep.
So it's still growing. There's still demand, even though it's like barely sustainable. Or
That's
like,
it's a bubble, right? It's a bowl in the desert. There's no forgiveness. The population and the concrete is contributing to the heat. And it's just getting worse. It's great for business and, but it's getting worse. The air quality is the worst in the country, on most days. There's very few cities that have worse air quality than Phoenix.
dang.
It's the number one fastest growing city with Alzheimer's disease, which I think is correlated to the air quality and the pollution. It's not emissions pollution necessarily as it is just dust, just dirt, and yep.
And the microplastics in the gum,
Yeah,
and everything.
Yep. There's just no natural. I mean, there's no blue zones in Arizona.
So, last week you told us about how, like you met a shop owner, entrepreneur, and made friends that way. What interesting stories and connections have you come up with this week?
Well, let's see. Yeah, let's dive into this. So, I really like. Did everybody, if you heard Michael earlier, if you've got a thought, comment, question. I mean, if there's something, we try to keep this call as marketed oriented and business oriented as possible. We always go off on tangents. We stay a little longer if we've got some real estate. So it's an open forum. We can go in any direction y'all want to go. So if you've got something on your mind, something you're working on, something that needs attention, just theoretically or in live practice right now, then just put it in the chat or come off mute like Michael said, whatever it takes. Ground up class release. You know what, Eric? That's a great question. You know what? I was just emailing Angie at corporate. Let me about my bio and let me ask her real quick. I should have asked her that because it's been 6 weeks.
I just saw that Bill's or Umair's class is out yesterday. Checking that class out. So, yeah, something else, folks, that I like about Bill. He taught me something a while ago. He said when he goes to the gym, he does his calls either on speakerphone or he talks extremely loud. And I was like, what? Why? He's like, yeah, I'm on the treadmill or I'm in the tennis court and I'm just talking very loud about the project. I'm talking to my contractor or a distributor of some sort. And he said that I remember, Bill, you told me about the story about the windows, that because you were saying something about your project on the phone, someone else in the gym heard, found out they own the window business, and you saved like $25,000 on windows just from that one interaction. And that those interactions, when you're intentional about going out in the world and getting things out of the world, that's a perfect example. I'm sure you've done that 100 times over since then. But what inspired that? What keeps you doing it? And what are some tips for new people to just combine life and business at the same time and grow?
Well, I mean, I don't know if what the word is. I might be I don't know if conceited is the right word. I'm definitely self-absorbed. So, like, I always eavesdrop on other people's conversations for some reason. I'm always interested in what other people are doing. I should probably pay more attention to my own life sometimes, but so like it's I think that other people do it too, and everybody has an opinion and everybody has um an input and everybody has uh for the most part they have something to offer, and so it gives them an opening when I'm being loud and they oh, excuse me, I overheard your conversation. Are you a builder? Or and they just ask a question right away to break the ice, right? Which is exactly why I'm talking loud. It makes it easier for me to begin a conversation and create a relationship when someone else actually interrupts me. But I'm technically interrupting their day by being loud on the phone, like not obnoxious, right? But enough so they can hear what it is I'm talking about. Like, I generally speaking am not looking to hear someone's conversation about their kids, and unless it's pretty funny and they get kicked out of school or something. But But if someone's dropping tips on stocks or something, I've got an ear, I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm listening to what they're saying. So same kind of thing, I think if there's opportunity to be heard, people are listening, especially the people you probably want to do business with, because if they're willing to open their mouth and talk to a stranger, they're going to be a little bit more, entrepreneur or outgoing and that sort of thing, and a little less introverted. So it could be a good relationship. So it's just always been a way for me to help, even with the marketing. When I used to do a lot more 3-foot rule marketing, when it was my number one go-to, I would do it on purpose and start. Sometimes I wasn't even on the phone. I would just pretend like I'm on the phone and say something about, oh, my buddy, just, closed the sale yesterday, made $10,000. And I'll just make some stuff up. And people are like, I mean, when it was legal, people used to, a lot of top income earners would be like, if you didn't make $20,000 last month, call me. And they'd put that on their car, right? So, that's an A personality driving question, right? And so when someone hears somebody talking about making money or having money or, doing a deal or whatever it is, there's an interest there. And typically people are involved in real estate to some degree. Even if they're looking for their own house or they want to sell, or they're interested in what the market is doing, especially with online access now. So anytime someone speaks of any type of knowledge out loud, and when it comes to the real estate market conditions at that time, someone's opinion about it, they're listening, especially when they think they know what the market's like, and they're gonna definitely chime in and give their 2 cents, and which is fine, which is exactly what I'm looking for, because then, oh, how did you hear that? You know what I mean? And then, you compliment them, you tell them, oh, you're pretty wise, whatever it is, and then you're able to ask them a few questions, make them feel good about themselves, and then you can go from there. So, yeah, that's generally speaking what I like to do that for, to create relationships for sure.
Yeah, it seems a little intimidating to new people. I mean, I remember first getting started out, like having to just go start talking to a stranger about this stuff that I'm still just learning. Like, I'm not an expert at all, but those conversations brought me the business.
So for new people, what is do the opposite. Listen in and then be the one who's interested in making a comment or asking a question. Oh my God, how did and then again, you listen, you eavesdrop on their conversation, and then you interject. Oh, I heard you say, you think the market's going up, you think what's going on? I didn't hear that. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, I just started getting involved with this. Like you just say something, you make yourself a little ignorant, you make yourself a little vulnerable, and all of a sudden they're going to want to help you, right? Oh, I just got into the market, or I haven't done my first deal yet, or whatever it is, and you kind of put yourself out there a little bit as a new person, and everybody that is listening is going to take a sympathetic mindset. They're gonna take a I'm the captain kind of mindset. Either way, they're gonna tell you something and fill you in with some sort of information, and you're gonna have a relationship building already, kind of a reverse door uh, way of doing it. If you're new, if you don't have the experience or the knowledge to share, or you're not working on a deal right now, or and you don't want to go with, oh, I just learned today that you could buy real estate with someone else's money. You know what I mean? And that might not be your icebreaker you want to create just because you're talking about something you learned. It works in social media and stuff like that. But when you're out in Starbucks and you're like, oh, I just found out you could borrow money from the bank to get real estate, you sound like an idiot, right? Like, who doesn't know that, right? So, and I don't mean, I'm joking around, but when you listen to someone else's conversation and they're talking about stock, or they're talking about business, or whatever it is, and then you're like, well, what do you think about real estate? I was thinking I'd get into real estate instead of stocks. And all of a sudden they're gonna, and it's just an easy way to get involved. If you're new, you can be the opposite end of that conversation. You know? So
Yeah, I found that in a big way when you admit a lack of experience, all of a sudden the people want to be the expert and support you and point you in the right direction and offer you a friend's phone number and this and that. That's what I'm going through right now, right? Like building this septic system for this trailer park that we're working on. And like I just asked one person who then sent me to the next one, the next one, the next one. And I know a lot of it, but when I just tell them, I say, I'm not an expert, I'm an amateur in this. What do you think? And all of a sudden I'm getting like top level coaching from people. And then resources and referrals. So
yeah, and
yeah,
then you can fact check it a little bit, or ask a second opinion, get the same statement, and you're good to go. And people, it's just like working with when we work with prospects, and you work with sellers, and you work with the IRS or bankers, and you let them, like when I call utility companies, I've done it a million times, but I don't want to do it. So I'm just like, oh, I don't know, what's the best cheapest program I should put my electric on? It's going to be a vacant house. Oh, let them tell you and do it them for you. When you compliment and you play dumb, like you've heard me say that 1,000 times, just play stupid. right? Just like a dog, it just plays dumb and it gets you get what you want because everybody wants to share their information and be the expert and help. And it just, if you don't have to do it yourself, you know what I mean? And you're learning the whole time because it's like free research.
Right, exactly. Because sometimes if you ask too intelligent of a question, then people will shut down and then they go, "Oh no, you're the expert," and then they don't want to talk or divulge any other info.
Right. Or
Mhm.
they want to just answer that specific question so they can they can show you that they know the answer, right? So they're only focused on that. Nothing, they're not going to share information that you might consider wrong, right? So, but when you literally show vulnerability, and I think that's in any relationship, any openness and vulnerability and ignorance to a degree, um, people are want to help and want to share, and then of course they want to interject their expertise.
Yeah, yeah. The I called the power company over because we need to upgrade the power system, and the guy, I just said it to him. I'm like, "Well, I mean, what's your take? I'm an amateur on the whole thing. What's your take?" And he says, "Well, I just ran power for that trailer park over there and that one over there. And heck, why don't you call these guys and do this and that?" And then he said, and I saw both of their issues because I had to sign off on it. Here's what I would do in the future. And it just, now we're friends. He's coming next time I have a barbecue, he's gonna come now because the way I'm raising my animals, he's really interested. And um but dude, the two referrals he gave me lowered my stress, lowered my guessing for the next $10,000 I need to spend. And I know how septic system works. I know how the power works, but I told him I'm an amateur. What do you think? And the resources just came. So, and Laura said that that just happened to her at the Parade Homes last week. Awesome.
Yep.
So something else in the starting of conversations is the "did you know" line. Did you know? Or I just heard. Now remember, don't claim it as fact. Be open to being countered because that's part of why you're going to bring it up. But I want to hear it in the chat. Type it in the chat. What is your favorite "did you know" to start a conversation? Either with about real estate or marketing, banking, taxes, something. What's your favorite "did you know"? Right? You called your mom after you learned something, or your brother, an old friend, and you learned something, you want to tell them about it. Did you know? What would you put on the "did you know"? For me, it's did you know that you can pay off debt faster with certain other debt? And then people get this twisted look, huh? Did you know? So Gilda's is did you know that you can buy houses without using your own money or credit? What other "did you knows"? You got a go-to, Bill, that you like?
Um, I can't say that I do like have I obviously uh these are all great. I haven't really used, I'd have to let me think about it.
Awesome. Yeah, I see Jasmine's here. Did you know you can self-direct your retirement account and invest it in real estate or whatever asset you want completely in control? That's a big one too. Most people don't know that.
I would say that obviously it depends on, if you're trying to just break the ice and you're doing marketing, it's one thing, but um I do like Gilda's, and if I was doing it, and sometimes in conversation, when I'm talking to people and they ask me a question, or I'm trying to, I'm working on a house to purchase perhaps, or I'm talking to realtors even, believe it or not. I mean, I will ask specifically about owner financing. Did you know that, I could, they could sell me their house subject to, I could just take over the mortgage payments. So I'll inform them on other options of me acquiring the property that might be beneficial to the seller. And generally speaking, that's where it comes in on a one-to-one when I'm trying to get something from someone, you know what I mean? Um, I think though it's a great I think if you've heard me say decide and do, and I didn't come up with that. I got it from Michael Burnoff, one of my personal development mentors, of course, and coaches. And I've been, he and my team and I've used him. I got involved with him back in like 2010 or 2009. And, you know, that step, but in the, where was I going? If you make like a little plan and then you decided to do something, I think, if you were studying education on a weekly basis in Renatus and and you wanted to create some followers, I think if you posted did you know with an example, um, 2 or 3 times a week, did you know, and it's not just open-ended necessarily. It could be the first time, you highlight it in black and white or something, or put some fireworks around it, and you're like, did you know you can take over someone's mortgage? And then a bunch of people are going to be like, you can't assume a mortgage if it's after 1982, blah, blah, blah. And they're all going to put in their 2 cents. But there's no bad negative press, right? There's no negative press. All press is good. So anytime someone's responding, they're checking out whether you're saying something they don't think is true or not, right? So then if you post the next one, right, and you actually follow it up with a fact or some sort of example, and you did this on purpose, I would imagine, because you could probably get 1,000 did you knows from a dozen classes or more. You know what I mean? If you think about it, right? If you could probably get, in one 6-hour class from Chris Wilson, you'd probably get 50 did you knows. You know what I'm saying? Uh, you, there's moments where you're going to be like, oh, I thought I heard that, but I didn't know that, right? Even you would be learning, right? You're learning from people that have been doing this for decades. And so if you were putting those down and you were doing that you would get some followers and then you'd get some interaction. The cool thing is you become the expert because in the conversation, in the comments, and even taking it so far as being in a private, conversation with them on DMing or whatever, you could really become the expert in either disputing their comment or contributing to their questions about what you've posted on. Because some people are going to be like, oh, I thought that was illegal, or I thought that was only in a few states, or whatever it is, right? And you can be like, nope, subject to is on every HUD in the country. It's a line item on the first page.
Did you know?
So is there something in the back office for those? Did you know? I would skip AI. I mean, I don't know. Maybe AI knows what to do. I don't think they're in the back office. I think you just got to come up with them. There's probably a lot of testimonies about it, but you'd have to really dig through because we don't have like broken down by did you knows. Um, no, I would get it from life experience in your education or like on this call, these types of calls, Tim, and utilize those and create your own did you knows by watching the classes or going to a property tour, going to an event and then listening to someone up in front of the room talking about velocity banking, and all of a sudden you get an aha moment that you may have already heard obviously more than once, but you write that one down. That's probably where you'll get those, and then you can relate to it, right? You can relate to an example if you heard it. Most time we follow up with an example or a fact or some sort of demonstration of that new information that we're sharing to entice people, to want to look at us further if we're selling the education. Um, so that's where I would get that from.
Yeah, one thing when you are watching your classes to prime your brain, like we got this from the Genius courses when we went through it. If you give your brain two questions when you go into uh, education mode, you are going to extract more out of the class. The two questions are first is, what do I already know? Let's say you're going to open up the Raising Private Capital class. You're going to write down a few things. What do I already know about this class? I'm telling you, if you do these two steps before your class, you will pull up so much out of it because your brain is searching and you need to train it. If you don't train it, it's searching for entertainment and feel goods and serotonin. You have to train it what to look for. So, first question, what do I already know about this? You can write a few things down. Second question, even more important, what do I need to know? And then you write down 3, 5, 10 things you need to get from the class. Then when you go to watch it and you put it on 1.5 or 2 speed, now your brain is looking for something. Instead of just waiting for something that might trigger interest, you now have your list of interests and you're going for it. So you could also put on there, Tim and everybody else, in the what am I looking for, you could put, I'm looking for 3 did you knows to share. And you're going to train your brain for this thing to go and pull them out. And you put a 6-hour class on double speed, you're done in 3 hours. You do 90 minutes, you take a sandwich break for 20, 30 minutes, 90 more minutes, boom, you did your 6-hour class on double speed, train your brain to extract that info from it with priming those questions. So, what do I already know and what do I need to know?
Yep. Yeah, Laura, I think that the pre-assessments are good for that.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that'll prime your brain too. What do I need to know?
Yep. Um, yeah. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. But I think, like I said, I'm not sure what, oh, I can't think of her name. There is, when I get on the phone with one of my coaches, almost every time she asks me, what's the intention for the call, right? And it's critical that we're intentional. Not all the time necessarily, unless that's what you want to do. I'm not intentional when I'm out on the boat. Uh, I'm not intentional sometimes when I'm I don't know, at the store. But you'll find yourself buying things you may not want or need if you're not intentional. But yeah, right. When I'm at the gym, I'm pretty intentional. Uh, when I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do at the gym and why I'm going to the gym for the week, I'm intentional, right? And then when I question whether or not I want to go to the gym that day, I know that I wanted to get 4 days in that week, right? And that I was gonna paddle or play tennis the other 2 days or whatever it was. So it's intentional. So I think in our businesses, it takes a while for us. There's so many options, right? And but when we become intentional on what it is we want to do, if you think about Jared Brenchley, right? He's very intentional on wholesaling, right? And then when he joined the first flip challenge as a mentor and a coach with them, he became very intentional when he wanted to start the first wholesale deal challenge or whatever the hell he calls it, you know? So, um, sometimes it takes us a while, which is fine to figure out what it is we want to be intentional about, like what type of real estate we want to do, you know, but I think that, if we're unsure, doing things like posting these, having an intention on social media, or having an intention out in public for 3-foot rule, or having an intention like Michael did with his friends and family, which was his warm market. Or, back in the day, it was cold market for Michael. He was very intentional on putting out signs, a ridiculous number of signs every single week for months and months and months, even years at a time, in order um, to create the marketing success that he desired, right? Uh, there is, it really, our intentions can grow, they can become bigger, but it starts with just smaller intentions. Um, but I don't think it's healthy necessarily to be intentional all the time. There has to be some spontaneity, there has to be some relaxing and some, letting your mind, not be OCD all the time. But it is important that um, I think we will get what we want faster if we're more intentional, at least micro, in micro bursts at the very least, right?
Yeah, that's part of what was in the self-confidence formula
Yep.
yesterday, was thinking about the person you intend to become. What is that intention? What kind of person is that? And yeah, being intentional will change your results.
You
So
know,
how many of you are go ahead.
well, and it's if you think about it, like we're all, we can listen to me talk about this, us talk about this, and then you're like, well, I'm intentional, right? And we totally get it. I mean, all of us intend to do something, we get it done. Um, and but when it comes to bigger things that aren't as easy to come by or easy to do, like you're intentional with your children. I mean, naturally you have to be, or your kids are going to run all over you, right? You're intentional with your job. You have to get to work on time. Those are intentions. Like when you're not, you're late. I mean, it's just the way it is. But when it comes to bigger things and newer things that we're unfamiliar with, marketing, real estate, business, money changes, changing the way we operate money, the way we view money, the way we perceive money, the way we accept money, the way we spend money or get debt, those things are scarier. And so being intentional with some of those things means that we've got to do something out of our box, right? So it's all related in a way, right? So, going to the gym, being intentional, doing, you know, if you don't know how to work out, how do you be intentional going to the gym, right? So why would you want to be intentional? So it's easy to kind of human nature to just walk away from some of those intentions, or you intentionally go to the gym, but you intentionally don't really try that hard, right? Because you don't want to embarrass yourself, or you don't want to look bad, or you want to, you know what I mean? But I remember, you know, number one, if that's the case, get a coach. Like at least do one personal training session and get some advice, right? Anytime we don't know, get the advice. Just pay someone or barter for some professional, or semi-professional or somewhat experienced opinions and experiences from others, right? Number two is I would do it for free. I would go to the gym and stand around and watch people. I mean, I remember when I first started shooting guns in an enclosed, I didn't grow up with guns. All my buddies did, but I watched people load their guns and shoot them at targets for quite a while before I started putting my clips in and shooting my gun. And then I also paid for a class, right? And even though I knew I'd been shooting, I'd shot guns many times, I went and paid for a class after I bought a new nine and, wanted to use it. I just bought a new AK. I don't know how to use it. I've only shot them like twice. So I haven't even loaded them. I'm going to go with my buddy who has like six of them and he's going to show me how to use it. Right. Even though I've shot them before. Right. I don't know how to use my own. Um, so, I watch people at the gym do stuff. Like when big dudes are lifting, I'm paying attention because it's free, and they might not be totally right. I might look at it and go, that looks a little weird. Maybe I'll look at the next dude and see what he does. Right. And I know I'm not checking out dudes or people for that matter. I'm joking. But you know what I mean? So it helps us it is harder, when I'm telling you to take advice from me on being intentional about stuff that is scary or it's interesting. My mom was looking at one of my jet skis yesterday because I launched one of them, but not the other one yet. And she came over for dinner, and I'm like, "Ma, come on, let's go. Let's eat." And she comes in and she's like, "Wow, that thing's really big." I'm like, "That's the smaller one." She's like, "Oh my God, I would be afraid to get on there." And and I get it, right? It's a natural thing for us to be afraid. Like fear means that we're intelligent. Fear creates the opportunity to be aware, right? Um, but it just made me think, and I don't know why, I don't know why it was so like it was such an impactful statement to me, is that so like when I started to think about what would you be afraid of, like when you're on a jet ski and you fall, it's not like you read in the paper all the time that people die on a jet ski, right? They have to run into something at a high velocity, which is almost impossible. You have to be completely drunk and just out of control to run into something on a jet ski. Snowmobile, a little bit different. You do hear people hitting trees. So maybe if you're beginning on a snowmobile, you stay on a groomed trail for a while, right? Till you get used to riding the snowmobile. But rarely does anybody get really seriously injured that you ever heard of. I mean, I guarantee, I would almost bet my life or bet a lot of money that nobody on this call knows of someone who went to the hospital after riding a jet ski. Yet my mom's afraid of the jet ski. It doesn't make it, it's not sensible, right? But naturally, when we are unaware of something, we are afraid of it. It's the easiest way for us not to be intentional about riding a jet ski or doing something, is to just have a natural fear about it, right? It's because we don't know, right? Or we can only perceive what it's like in the worst case scenario, right? So when we're thinking about business or real estate and borrowing money, the worst case scenario is we don't know. So we naturally think, oh my God, there's no way I'm borrowing, I can't pay that money back. What if I can't pay back? What if all we think about are all the negative consequences? And we're not trained to think about the 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 possibility, right? Where you walk by the jet ski and you're like, wow, that thing's huge. I wonder what it feels like to go fast on there. I wonder what it feels like to jump a wave on there. I wonder what it feels like to take someone on a ride. These are all good things, positive things, right? All the things that you'd be like, wow, that must be a lot of fun, right? But most of the time we're like, that would be scary, right? It would be scary to borrow money. It would be scary to buy another house. It would be scary to buy my first house, right? I can't afford it. Do we get commission from E3 sales?
No, 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 we don't. That'd be cool. Maybe we'll do that one in the future. But no, we'd have to raise the price. We opted to try to make it super easy for people to say yes. So $200. They're gonna get $200 worth of value in the first 200 minutes. Like it's gonna be an awesome event.
Well, and for the company, realistically, it's still a loss at $200.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We could
Yeah,
put,
they're pumping out several six figures to make this event happen. So
yeah, it's just these events are not cheap.
yeah. Yeah, and we're including lunches, whereas before we didn't have lunch included. So I still think it's gonna be a big um a huge value. The other one we got the dinner. We got one dinner, and this one's coming with three lunches, and it's half the price. So they did something awesome to be able to make the price fit in line with that and still feed us. Um,
Yeah,
actually,
it's nice. And food, people love the food, having to be able to, when we're part of Renatus and we're going to a nationals, we want to get a break. We want to go out and hang out with our friends. But when you're going to events that you're paying for, that you're a patron, that you're going to get sold on, it's nice when there's perks and you've got things given to you. You don't have to worry about those types of things. It's a good benefit. And you guys, Eric, you're not interrupting me. You guys and girls can interrupt us anytime, and just join the conversation. I know a lot of you are at places you can't talk or whatever, but you're never interrupting at all. It's an open book here, open forum. So for sure, if something's on your mind and it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, it's more important than what I'm saying. Trust me.
Yep. Yeah, and to clarify, the lunches come with the VIP ticket. I just realized not every ticket comes with the lunches.
Oh,
So it's the $500 VIP ticket where you get the lunches, but it comes with those lunches are with the instructors for the day. So back to being intentional, they're going to be 90-minute lunches where you eat for 30 minutes and then you go and network for 60 minutes and you go and find the people and the resources and ideas you need to get to the next level. So if you're considering, should you do the VIP, should you do the general admission? Depends on how many phone numbers of instructors you have. I went to so many events when I first got started so that I could meet these instructors and become friends with them and get their number. There's nothing stopping you from asking them for their number. Now they may say yes, they may say no, but I think every single one of them gave me their number that I asked. I don't think I got a no. So anyway, it's worth it to add those connections because they say that your network is your net worth. And you should be adding a millionaire to your phone book once a month and adding a billionaire to your phone book once a year. And if you're not doing that, you're not upgrading your network. So I know some of you are going to take the angle of the ticket is 500. To everyone you talk to, it's a $500 ticket. You're not going to sell the general admission ticket. You're only going to sell VIP tickets. Good for you. Please report back to the group how it's going. We want to hear. And maybe we'll sell out of VIP tickets first. That'd be great. So, it's kind of like Mitch's angle on the education. Scott talks about test drives. Mitch talks about cash combos up front, right? And it's just depends on your preferences, I guess. So some of you I know just want to sell the VIP tickets because you want your customer to have that experience, which will lead to a higher chance of them buying the combo when it's time. Sell a $500 ticket and just sell 10 or 20 of those, and you'll lock in some future sales that way. A few people were asking me, Bill, about your updates on your development in the Carolinas. How's that going? Speeding up, slowing down, puts a smile on your face, is pissing you off. What's up with this deal?
so it is, folks. It's a great question. I don't know what the experience is. I don't know what the right word is. I will tell you that nothing is without hiccups. For me on this project, I'm a limited partner in the way that I raised. So I'm a general partner, I should say. I'm a general partner, but with limited. I have no say in how anything's run or done, other than when they need advice. So the good news is we've completed them, and we tried to refinance them, which was our out, right? Was a refi out of the construction loans and into traditional funding, and we could not get it funded for numerous reasons for a very long time. Somehow Becky got it done, and it was a little too late, too little too late, because we had to actually sell the best one we had. We were putting them on the market, and we sold the 8-bedroom, 8-bath with the elevator for I think 1.89 million, something like that. The good news is we did do the refi, and we had over $5.5 million of equity in there, but we could barely take any of it out. We only got enough money out to pay like 15% of the principal back to the investors. So we're going to have to do it again in order to pay them back. Or we are also selling the Ocean Isle land, which we finally got through splitting all those lots. The good news is there's a lot of equity there. I think we bought that. We bought the Ocean Isle lots for, or it was one lot at the time. I think it was 1.8 million or 1.2 million, 1.6 million. And we split it into 12 lots, and they're worth like 750 a piece, plus or minus. So that's finally done. So that'll be a one way to pay back the investor's principal. And then they have it's a pretty cool little internal rate of return plan that we did for them. The other issue we had was a pretty poor uh, nightly rental company. And I think the people that were running it, that were part of the project, that were the main principal owners, were pretty inexperienced in it. And so our revenue was way down from projection. And we were losing money every month, especially when we had the construction loan. So the project is picking up. We did some consulting and had some calls and looked to some other property managers that had experience in these types of larger beach rentals on the short-term market. And so they've made some changes, and then they consulted with me on what I do with all my Airbnbs. There was a lot of amenities missing, I think, that I wasn't even aware of. So uh, the like I said, the good news is they're it's summertime. We're going to make up for it. We've they experimented with some electrical chargers in one, which in my opinion, I don't see the value in an electrical charger at all, other than one of the owners lives right there and he knows how to put it in, so he was doing it pretty much at cost. So it was very inexpensive to put in an EV charger, but I when I sell my homes, I run a 220 to the garage, but it's simply that it's a 220, and then I don't put in a specific EV charger in my homes in my new construction. Um, I don't think people buy or sell a house with an EV charger. I think, or rent them. I definitely don't think people rent electrical vehicles when they go and get a car. Like, how do they even know where the EV chargers are? And most places don't have them. Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. But there are some amenities that are absolute must. When you want to have items at your disposal, whether you use them or not. So anyway, it's turning around, and it's going to be a little bit longer process to get the real value out of them, but the equity's there. Like the equity, if we were to sell them all, everybody'd make a really fat check, but that's not the long-term goal with these projects. So
Did you have to change a part of your mindset to get involved in a deal like this, right? Like it's probably one of the higher capitalized deals you've been in. Did it change your mindset at all? Or was it just like the next step in your evolution? What's your take on that?
well, so I was not intentional when I did it. Nate asked me to do it, said he needed help doing, whatever the term, not that he needs help, but was like, "Hey man, I'm going to do this. You want to join me?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do a deal together." And so we didn't plan well enough for our own compensation. Number one, I mean, we have long-term compensation, but number two is in my opinion, I was a pawn in a project, and it's not my goal to do that. The funds that I raised were from people I knew, people I put in front of the information. I mean, I learned a little bit while doing it, but it's something I could do on my own. And I could, if people would have gotten their money back, I would have access to those funds, or at the very least, could at least invite them to reinvest them with me on one of my own projects where I'm a majority principal owner, if not the principal owner. So, so my mindset's changed in the way that, if you're going to do something, make sure you're doing it intentionally. Make sure that you're getting out of it what you want. When I started in real estate, I like you've heard me say this maybe, and many of you knew, maybe you didn't. We all used to think that, and it's all relative, but you know, there's a lot of work, and we undervalue our time and our expertise and our knowledge, especially when we need money. We're willing to, I don't know, we're willing to sell ourselves short all the time. Renatus does give us something that, you know, taken seriously, can increase the value of your time exponentially. And hopefully you can create the mindset around it where, you're not going to sell yourself short. You're going to wait, and you're going to play a bigger role in the ability for you to do the deal, so that you can create more income or equity or longevity in the project for yourself. So if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, I would just, if your intention is simply get in, get out, make a quick buck, make sure that's your intention. But if your goal was to be a principal and make a lot of money, or do something, and you know what I mean, and be a part of something, and then all you did was give up your resources to somebody else, then make sure you realize you're doing that, because that can happen. So I'm not disappointed I did it, but but I would have, the next projects I'm doing, I'm the one doing them. Kind of like Nate's done now with his apartment complex a little bit. Um, you know, but he was a bigger partner, and then he ended up just sharing part of his partnership with me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so it's just about networking, right? Because Nate's not on your team, you're not on Nate's team, but it
Yeah.
was just, you watched your classes, so did he. You started networking, and a
Well,
deal
I'll
came.
tell you, in that again, there was a nationals about 3 years ago that I went to, where I was intentional. I went up to Nate and I said, "Hey, man, you're doing some big things. I want to, let me know. Let's get on the phone. Let's talk about some stuff." And something happened to come up for him at that time, and he thought of me, right? I mean, obviously, he knew I had a track record as well, but my point was, I'd never ever wanted. There were many times Michael and I went to Utah, and Nate and I weren't friends. We barely knew each other. We recognized each other, appreciate each other's success, but that was the extent of it. But this time, and now ever since, even going to London and stuff, I've become a much better friend of Nate's. Just like me and you, we've become partners and done things together. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. Being intentional, folks. Being Teddy Roosevelt has a quote about the man in the arena, and that it's too easy to criticize from the sidelines. Let's see, Teddy quote, "Man in the arena." It is a great quote. All right, here we go. So it says, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points at the strong man and how he stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better." I'll drop in the chat here too, so you can read along. The man in the arena. Oh, we don't need no pop-ups. Get out of here. Here we go. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who never know victory nor defeat. So basically, get messy. Get messy, make mistakes, and learn and try, right? It's not the critic who counts, nor the man who points out how the strong man stumbled, or the doer of deeds, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man in the arena. So that's all of you. You're in the arena. You're doing the thing. And I applaud you for that. We talked about yesterday how that consistency compounds, right? Just a tiny fraction every day for a week, a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Bill's been at this for 15, 16, 17 years. It compounds. So stick with it. This is your first week, month, or even your first year. Do not compare yourself to me or Bill or to Gilda or somebody else who's been doing a lot of deals. Look at yourself from 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and you can compare yourself to that. That's the healthy comparison. Am I on track? Am I going where I want to go? Am I improving? And it's exciting to see. It's exciting to see Renatus is making improvements, new classes coming out, new events coming out. I got an update that the app that we're working on will right, there was a stall in the Apple Store app because of something Apple was doing to other developers and getting sued and all big things. So we're waiting for the dust to settle before we can get on the Apple App Store. But it's just great to see improvements everywhere. So we're gonna go soon. Folks, does anyone have any real estate questions for Bill while we're here? Putting in offers, you're in the middle of a negotiation, you got someone you need to talk to and need an idea.
All right. Well,
Hey, Bill.
yeah,
Yeah, I know Nate has this project in San Antonio. Are you part of that? The 400 some unit apartment?
I'm not.
Okay.
We discussed it. I chose to opt out of that one. It's a good deal.
Mm,
Sounds like it. Even at acquisition, they were, I don't know, 5 to 7 million up in equity technically, and then there's a lot of upside. But again, like I said, everybody, I don't know that you can do a deal like that by yourself and out of the gate. However, the role that I would have played is so small for what I would have given up. I'm building my own and buying my own projects. Um, like I'm going to be doing something up here in the apartment realm, and I'll be the principal. You know what I mean? I'll be at the very least I might be the one offering GPs. Looking for people to help me raise money or looking for people to help me run the project to be a part of it. But in that case, there were three other gentlemen out of Texas that actually found the deal, put the deal under contract, and ran the deal. Um, and Nate, as you know, is a very good networker. And so he
Yeah.
met these guys, yeah, and he travels the country to go to different events, and he's there with only one thing in mind, and that is to gain relationships. Um, not even knowledge from the presentation, the presenters themselves, I would bet. And from there, he expands on those relationships. He contacts people, puts has intention and develops a relationship with them and lets them know what his expertise is and what he's looking for. And these guys called him and said, we need to raise some capital. And so he called me to raise some capital. And we were going to do it together. We also did develop a different way to get paid, which I think, he probably did very well. And I think he raised the money himself. I don't know if he
did he
picked.
already close? Because I thought that was when I got a text from him. He said they were closing in a couple of weeks. So,
Supposedly they had all the money.
oh,
So I
okay.
don't know if he closed or not, but they were due to close. I think
Yeah.
the other guys had enough money, and they weren't even being exclusive, to where they were offering us the last $2 million raise. Um, Out of we needed 5.5, I think, and and so going in there, I didn't want to end up raising 1 million and getting an even smaller percentage, right? But I do believe Nate raised the whole 2.5 million in about 2 to 4 weeks,
Okay.
30 days.
Yeah.
But
Well, the reason I was asking that because my son that is in the Navy is now in Seattle for 7 months, but then he'll be there in Lackland, which is 10 minutes from that property. So, so I know he's thinking about because he's gonna be in a shore duty starting January, and he wants to buy a house. And I use your VA. So, and if he can't, it would be good to, rent from somebody, I know. So,
oh yeah, so
yeah,
I don't know if I'm sure they're gonna have a project property manager. I mean, he's just gonna have to
yeah,
build a place, and it's
right. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
from Nate. I mean, Nate's not even. Yeah, we're not in the
Mhm.
decision making arena with those guys. We're strictly
Oh, okay.
fundraising, and yep. And so,
Yeah,
uh,
it's a good apartment. It looks good because he sent me the address, and
yeah, no,
it's
it's like
10 minutes
400.
from that. So definitely my son, I told my son if ideally I want him to buy a house, but he's only gonna be there for 3 years. And
Yeah, but
so
he should buy a triplex or a quadplex or something with his VA.
that's what I told him.
I would,
Get a four,
I don't care
yeah.
if it's run down, whatever it is. I would, I mean, there's nothing better than getting a VA loan and buying one of those
Mm-hmm.
out, and then, you just move out after the 2 or 3 years he's there, rent the whole thing and do it all over again.
Yeah. Well, and
Uh,
he can do it because his fiance is in the Air Force,
yeah,
and they're getting married in November, and so they have two to use. So that'll be awesome.
I just couldn't recommend anything. I mean, that's the best thing he could do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you, Bill.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Well, you got your marching orders, guys. Go start conversations, talk loud on the phone, be intentional. Watch your class on double speed, write down what you need to get out of it. Make some posts about some did you knows. Start these conversations and be open, be coachable, get in the arena. Got 115 days till our event. Arrange your travel and be, again, I guess that's the theme today. Be intentional about how many people you're going to go with, how many guests you're going to have, what other results you want out of it. Not just a good time, not just getting smarter. That's all going to happen for all of us. But the deals, the team expansion, the relationships. It's been a great call. So we'll get this uploaded to the channel. Share it with those who you know need it, and be friendly in the groups, the ISN, the Facebook groups, everything that we're doing. Embrace the new people, help them feel welcome, and let them know that this is the best place for real estate investing, community, and education. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye, guys. Thanks, girls, everybody.